Yeah.
So, if he were a God who came and turned the people away from Torah, he would be that.
That's right.
But since he didn't, he did not turn the people away from Torah. I mean, according to many, he's the one that turned them away perhaps from oral Torah, from the impossible things to keep.
But see, now you have to sit there and identify who he was by doctrine of truth. And going back to the glass slipper, if this is the doctrine of truth, then keeping Torah, Kaf and Lamed is the 11th and 12th letters. That's the center of the whole thing. Tony Robinson has this thing about chiastic structure. Do you know about that?
Yes, I do. So
the center of the chiastic structure, the top of the thing, is what it's all about. That's Kaf and Lamed. That's Torah, the writings, and the correct interpretation of it, which is Lamed. And Yeshua has to be the embodiment of the Torah.
Why
Any
is
Messiah.
Kaf and Lamed Torah?
Excuse me?
Why is Kaf and Lamed Torah? Is it because it's the center of the Aleph Bet?
No, it's because this is part of the pattern. So here's the thing. I don't know anybody else who says that Kaf and Lamed is Torah. That's just me. But the reason I'm saying it's Torah is because of the pattern. If Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. Yod is the creator. What represents the creator? The Ket Yod, according to the Mishkan pattern. If you look at the Mishkan, if you look at Pesach, if you look at Yehi Or, they all fit this pattern. Hey, Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey. What's the Hey of the Yod? It's a riddle. It's an inference. So what I'm showing you here is not somebody else's doctrine or some kind of theology. I'm showing you mental processing being. Here's what the word being means. I was told not to think. Here's what being means. Strong's number 995. To view, regard, to know. Of course, Dalet Ayin is also know or knowledge, but this is Bina. Chachma, Bina, and Da'at. Chabad. Did you know what Chabad means? It's an acronym. Chabad. Cha, Chachma, Ba, Bi, Bet, Bina, and Da'at, which is knowledge. Knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. It's an acronym for the pursuits of the noble sophers. It's like, how can we despise these guys? Well, we think they're Chabad Lubavitch, and what do they know? They're a bunch of Jews going to hell. That's all anybody thinks, and yet they are spending their lives seeking out wisdom, knowledge, and understanding in the words. Is that not a cool thing to do? That's what we're doing. Does that make us Lubavitchers? No, because they're on a different train of thought.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing out these words for the people that don't know anything.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It was news to me when I found out about it. Huh?
Oh, I was going to say, I mean, I believe that Yeshua is the Aleph Bet, based on what I've learned so far. And I believe that he is the Aleph to the Tav. I believe that it is God that manifested himself on earth, that the Word became flesh. I believe all those things are one. And I believe that when it says, before even Jesus came on the earth, when we know about in the Bible, I believe that God said, don't worship, don't have any other gods before me. So it's like, it's hard to, after saying that, it's hard to say, I love you, Jesus. I love you, Jesus. I worship. No one comes to me, through me except to the Father through me or whatever. It's all tangled.
Well, because it's tangled. See, I'm not trying to say who's going to hell, which is typical Christian doctrine, is to say who's going to hell.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm trying to say is something is very tangled up. And I'm suggesting that because we have this alphabet, then if we look at it and we think about it and we talk about it and we read these words, maybe it can straighten back out. So if this is Yod, and if this is Hey, and this is Vav, and this is Hey, if that's what it is, and I say if because it fits this other pattern of lining all these things up, then the Yod is the creator and the Hey is the expression of the creator. And the reason, one of the ways I came up with this is when I first went to this Torah class and I didn't know any Hebrew. I couldn't have told you that the Almighty's name was Yod He Vav He. In fact, when I first said it to some other people after I learned this stuff, you say kind of fast, well, the creator's Yod He Vav He. It's like, what's his name? How do you say that? Yod He Vav He. Yod He Vav He. It's like, Yud Man, Yud Vav He. Yud Man. It's like, no, it's Yud He Vav He. 4 letters. Mm-hmm. Well, these are strange letters. Nobody knows these letters. So when we get like casual Yod Vav He, it's like, well, the reason I say Yod Vav He sometimes is because this one friend of mine says, listen, nobody knows how to say his name, but if we spell the letters Yod He Vav He, that's the guy we're talking about. So it's just a matter of interspersing it. Sometimes you might say Yahweh or Yahweh or Yahweh or Yoah or Iwa or Yudavave. It's the guy we're referring to.
How do we know that the letter is called an aleph or a bet or a gimel or a
Because
dal?
we've inherited that that's what they've been called. And the word aleph is the word ox. The word bet or bes or beth is house. The word gimel is camel. The word dal or dalet is door. The word hey literally means to behold. It's a window.
Oh, I got it! I got something really cool just now, thank you. I don't want you to forget to do your point because I see my husband's cute little sign.
That's right.
But Teresa, what was it? You were supposed to remember something.
Oh, man.
The word is lifted up.
Oh, okay. So this friend of mine, 7-Day Adventist guy, years ago, he says, I was learning about Yahweh. So he said, hey, Yahweh, this is like the supreme word, his name. We got his name. Because he called him Lord and God and whatever. And he says, doesn't matter. Name doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He says, it says right there in the Psalms, he has lifted up his word above all his name.
Oh, yeah.
So it means he's lifted up his word above all of his name. So you can mention his name or whatever name, it doesn't matter. His word is lifted up, and so we're just studying his word as 7-Day Adventists. I said, it doesn't even make any sense in English. You lifted up his word above all his name. It's the other way around. He lifted up his word, but above all, he lifted up his name. Well, that's a whole different way to take it. And he says, no, that's not what it says. He lifted up his word above all his name. He lifted up his word above all his name. No, that's not what it means. It's like, gosh, how do you argue this point with somebody?
Today you will
Be-
be
be- be-
in paradise.
Well, I tell you today, you will be with me in paradise. I tell you, today you'll be with me in paradise. Where's the comma?
Where's the comma?
Well, in Psalms 121, I looked into the hills from whence cometh my help. My help comes from the Lord. But where you put the punctuation in
That's
there,
right.
it's like I looked up to the hills, which are throughout Scripture the high places, which were the Baals were, and so it's like I looked up to the hills from whence cometh my help cometh from the Lord, or as I looked from the hills, from whence cometh my help.
Right.
My help comes from the Lord,
Exactly.
not the hills.
Exactly
Nice.
that. So now, a couple years ago, see, when I was talking to this guy, the SDA guy, that was just like arguing English, it's like, he said, she said, it's like, where's the truth? A couple years ago, and then I finally thought, hey, I can finally kind of read Scripture a little bit. I'm going to look up that verse. So I looked it up. And it says, I have lifted up my word. Ayin Lamed, Kaf Lamed, Shemi. Above all my name. Now, we just read the word Ayin Lamed, and it means above, height, supreme, above. The word Kaf Lamed means all. But wait a minute. Ayin Lamed also means a yoke. Like a yoke that you yoke oxen together with. Hooked together. If you have a yoke, a team of oxen, and one of them is going to go real fast, what's the other one going to do? It's either going to go real fast or it's going to slow the other guy down who's going real fast, and the two are going to go together. Neither one of them is going to go any faster than the other one. So now think about the pictures here. I have exalted my word, yoked to my name. What's the Shem of Yahweh? Remember we talked about last night? He says, when he says something, it's going to happen. 80 times in Ezekiel, when I say what happens is going to happen, you'll remember I said it, and you'll remember I am Yahweh. I am known because when I say it, it happens. My entire name and credibility is yoked to, tied to, keyed to the fact that when I say it, it's going to happen. And you better take that to the bank and count on it. So which one's higher, the word or the name?
They're yoked together.
They're high. So if somebody were to say, you keep Shabbat, I'll bet you worship Yod-Heh-Vav. Or if you're wearing a tzitzit and say, what's that all about? Oh, Yod-Heh-Vav said that. Oh, then you must keep Shabbat. You must regard the festivals. Because the two are synonymous. They're yoked together. So when I was talking about this with the guy in English, where did he put the comma, and he couldn't see the other, and I thought, well, that doesn't make any sense. They were both kind of wrong. Because it doesn't say anything about one above the other, but the translators have simply translated Ayin Lamed as above. But I just read the dictionary, and if I didn't have the dictionary, I wouldn't see that it's actually a yoke. And then you look at all these words above. Above is a reference to something else. You can't say above. Above what? Above the chair? No, I'm below it. But it also means below. It also means next to, on account of, concerning, besides, in spite of. It's always something in relationship to something else. So that's what I'm saying when you look at these definitions, when you look at the letters, you can't just say, this is what it means. It's like to swarm around the real thing. Like the electrons around the nucleus. And the real thing is the nucleus, which is the immaterial, the aleph, the real identity, which is the nun samik. If you know that Yeshua lifted up, you know that, okay, it's all about him. But the thing is, the best we can do with these words is look around it. So when you read a word, it's like read a sentence, it's like going around and around. And
Wheel within a wheel.
Wheel within a wheel. And then you go to Ezekiel 43, where he says, he told him for 3, 4, 5 chapters about the temple. And then he says, this is the teaching regarding the temple. Regarding the bet, actually. Which they translated as temple, but the bet could be everything he made. The materialization of everything he made. This is the teaching regarding the bet. Saviv, Saviv, Kadosh, Kodashim. This is the teaching regarding the bet. Now, when he's redundant, saying something twice, that's like Kadosh, Saviv, Saviv, Kadosh, Kodashim. What does this mean? Well, Saviv is translated around and around. Around and around, Kadosh, Kodashim. What's around and around Kadosh, Kodashim? I happened to be in Jerusalem, and I was looking at the city walls. I was reading Ezekiel. I took the week I was there to read through Ezekiel and really think about it. And I got to this part, and it's like, Saviv, Kadosh, Kodashim. All around the top of the mountain will be most holy, is the way it's translated. And look at this, and these aren't even Israelite walls. These are Greek. Turk, Saracen, Crusader, Roman walls. These aren't Israelite walls. As a matter of fact, what they call Migdal Dawud, or the Tower of David, isn't even built by David. It's built by some Arab invader. There's nothing Kadosh here, much less Kadosh Kodashim. Kadosh is, after all, what Yahweh made. As a matter of fact, every artifact up on that Temple Mount is proof that Israel has been subjected for all these years. Even what they call the Wailing Wall, some say is the Roman fortress Antonia, and that what you have here is where the garrison was up on top, and the place that the temple used to stand is not even there, but